Hey guys, Scott back again with a new beer dissection video for you. I have kind of a special treat here, courtesy of one of my friends, Susan. I won't use last names. I don't usually try to use last names on my YouTube channel, but she picked me up another beer from Henderson Brewing Company in Canada, but in collaboration with the band Rush, okay, or the remaining members of Rush. They produced, I think, 3 styles. I did do a beer dissection on their golden ale. I'll probably have it pop over my screen, over my shoulder, the picture of the beer. So if you're interested in that, take a look at that. A lot of people love that video because they're big fans from the 70s and 80s. Rush, they may even start in the 60s. I can't say I was a diehard fan. I know all the trivia about Rush, but obviously growing up through most of the 80s, 70s, and 80s, I know them pretty well. This one is called Moving Pictures. Okay, I believe it's from one of their albums. Again, because I'm not as fanatical as probably Susan, and one of my other friends is a big Rush fan too. They can ramble, all the albums and songs and everything on there. So with Henderson Brewing Company, they collaborated with the surviving members of Rush, and they produced the Golden Ale. She picked me up this one called Moving Pictures, which I'll get to in a second. And there's another one I have in my refrigerator called Signals. And both of these, which are interesting, unlike the other one, which is a rye, the Golden Ale is a rye beer with, of course, Pilsner malt and pale malt. These two, Signals and this Moving Pictures, is a Belgian style beer. And I think they're both Belgian blondes as the base beer, maybe even a Belgian Golden Strong kind of as the base beer. But they use, I think on this one in particular, it's funny, they advertise it using a Pinot Noir must, which I've never really heard of. I mean, we know Pinot Noir as the wine. What's considered a must? I was scouring, before I started this video, scouring the internet exactly what a must is considered. Because I think in their Signals, they use a must of a Riesling. So again, if you're interested in these beers, definitely look out for those videos, depending on when you're watching this one. I don't post them immediately after I produce these videos. I edit it a little bit and everything, but that one's a must of a Riesling. So I'm presuming, I don't know if it's a splash of the particular wine, or I don't know what it is, but we'll take a look at it today. This one today is brewed with... this is the Moving Pictures, 2-row Vienna malt, flaked wheat. It's probably going to be a little hazy or cloudy with the wheat because it has more proteins. Dextrose. A lot of Belgian beers use the sugar because the yeast will consume all the sugar and just produce alcohol, and to boost the alcohol content of the beer. They use a Saison yeast, which is think of Saison as kind of the true farmhouse beers. Saison DuPont, which I did a What Is style, and I did a beer dissection of Saison DuPont on my channel too, if you're interested in that. So they're using a Saison yeast, which is a lot of times going to give you some peppery phenols, fruity esters that you'll get from the yeast. So they have a lot more yeast character, these Belgian beers. So they are brewing it based upon a Belgian style, especially a blonde, as well as Saison. So it seems like this is a little bit of a hybrid, which I'm really excited to try out. Maybe because of the Pinot Noir must, which again, I don't know if it's a little Pinot Noir wine or whatever it may be, as well as the hearty Saison yeast and as well as the dextrose. This thing's coming in at a whopping 11.9% alcohol. The bottle's roughly 16.9 ounces. Okay, so this is going to be a hefty beer, but I'm presuming since it's a Belgian style, it's going to drink a little drier than something like some of your Imperial IPAs that are sitting around 12%, or even like some of the stouts out there, and 20 IBUs. So it's definitely sitting in Belgian territory here with the grist, as well as the percentage alcohol, the dextrose use, the Saison yeast. So this may be similar to a kind of a farmhouse ale I'm expecting. Sometimes I give you my little preliminary thoughts from just learning about the beer a little bit. But indeed, it is a collaboration with Rush. Again, Henderson Brewing Company. which is outside, which is not outside of Canada. It's in Canada. I think maybe it's outside of Toronto. I could be mistaken there. But like I said, I did do a beer dissection of the blonde ale or golden ale that they have, which again, I probably had popped over my shoulder already, which uses rye. And she also had given me another bottle of that too. So I'm looking forward to all of it. Okay. So without further ado, I just want to see if there was any other specs I wanted to share with you before I crack this thing open. Definitely with something like this, with a lot of my Belgians, I use something stemmed. Okay, nice. This is kind of my stemmed tulip glass. I got this from my buddy Bob, who got me one of my West Vleteren 12 beers, Belgian dark strong beers that came with it. Okay, because you do definitely want to treat this beer a little special. Okay. So let's crack this bad boy open. I'm also, especially with Belgian beers, I'm expecting this to be highly carbonated, okay, because it's a Belgian style and with the dextrose and things like that. So I'm pouring it out right now. Okay, so, and again, Center Ice Woodwork, Susan, who got me these beers, made this, which looks a little my bottle opener here. She's very handy with all woodworking, does a lot of projects. So Center Ice Woodworking, check her out. I got a nice, beautiful cutting board there, but she does a lot of different things. So she's on Instagram, Center Ice Woodworking. All right, so Woodworks. Okay, you message me, I'll put the link up. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we definitely got a hazy, gold, nice, beautiful gold, medium gold to kind of, I don't even want to say it's like a dark gold because it's a more kind of very bright and sparkling kind of gold, but definitely hazy, probably from the unmalted wheat, as well as probably the Saison yeast, because again, the wheat has more protein, so it adds a little bit more of that cloudiness. Nice, frothy, white, compact, dense foam. I can see that's going to persist, and I'm already getting some lacing on there. So thankfully, I got a nice beer clean glass here. But again, very nice. So that cloudiness, don't be distracted. That's for this type of style, you would expect that with the wheat, especially the wheat, and they're using two-row, the Vienna malt, and definitely the Saison yeast. You may get a little bit of yeast suspension in there too. So let's take a sniff of the aroma. Oh yeah, so you're in Belgium right away. You're kind of getting hit with some of those peppery phenols, but I'm getting hit with like apple, pear esters. So kind of like fruity aromas here, and that's a lot from the yeast, the Saison yeast. But you also get the peppery stuff. What's interesting too, I almost get like a bubble gum kind of aroma, white grape. Some of the yeast strains will produce some of that bubble gum aroma. Some of like the Hefeweizen does that too. With the Hefeweizen yeast, it gives you the bananas and clove. The Saison yeast, sometimes with the Belgian strains, will give you that kind of that bubble gum aroma too, also. But apples, pear, white grape, a little bubble gum. And then you definitely get that little bit of the peppery phenol. Not clove, but like just kind of like a little sharp peppery aroma on there. But definitely apple, pear, grape, okay? Not really any citrus there. If anything, maybe a slight bit of like a slight mandarin, but that's about it. They said, I think when I read, people were getting maple syrup aromas on there. I don't get that. I'm getting like definitely the fruit I just explained, as well as the phenolics from the pepper, which gives this is very nice smelling beer here. You can definitely tell you're in Belgium when you smell this. It does smell a little bit like you have a Saison DuPont in your hand, okay, which is again like kind of a farmhouse beer, kind of the original one. And I had done a whole video on that style. And And that's it. The Pinot Noir, I don't know, like I'm not getting, I don't know where, again, it's the one thing, sometimes I get stumped after a while. Pinot Noir must, so I'm presuming they say they finish it with it. I'm not getting any like wine character other than, smelling some of the alcohol from this, since this is 11.9%. I'm expecting to get some alcoholic warmth on the palate here too. But so far, so good. Maybe when I do a little short sniff, maybe that's where I'm getting a little bit of the orange citrus. But again, mainly apple, peppery phenols, pear, things like that. All right, guys, so cheers. Let's take a swig of this. Getting very carbonated, I can see. Wow. Wow, nice. First thing is, as I expected, being a Belgian style beer, and the Belgian blonde too, very high carbonation. I've had this open for a few minutes already, and I'm still getting that nice carbonic bite. So it's very crisp. Not as dry as, say, your Belgian dark strong like Duvel or Parade and things like that, but definitely drinks lighter than 11.9%. So the body is kind of light. I am getting a little bit of the alcoholic warmth like you would expect at 11.9. I get that starting around 7.5 to 8%. I get, I get a little bit more citrus, kind of mandarin on the palate than I did on the nose. But it is kind of like apple peel, pear-like on the palate also. And I said, what did they use here? Okay, so they had the dextrose. That's keeping the body light. But you definitely get I know that's what I'm getting. That's where the Pinot Noir is coming in. You kind of get a little bit of the tannin bite, almost like you had wine. So you kind of get a little bit of that puckering of the tannin and things. So again, I don't know. I gotta find out this Pinot Noir must. Presuming they're using the grapes or so that's maybe where I'm getting it. Maybe they're using a little bit of Pinot Noir wine, but it's, that's usually a little bit of a red wine. I don't see that here. But very nice. I mean, very crisp. Even on the aftertaste with the alcoholic warmth, it's kind of like what you'll get after taking a sip of wine, because the alcoholic strength is very high. But again, still drinks kind of light, even though not as light as Duvel or Parade, like I said, at your typical Belgian Golden Strongs. But very nice. It's very again. So you kind of get almost like if you had apples soaked in like a rum, or pears marinating and a little bit of an alcohol. That's kind of what you're getting, because there's definitely an alcoholic bite to this that you have. But very nice, guys. This is really good. On the aftertaste, again, you're left with a little bit of, that's probably where I'm getting some of that citrus at the very tail end of it, or maybe what I'm perceiving also kind of that, because it has such a high alcoholic strength that you kind of get a little bit of that warmth sitting there on the back end of it. But again, it does drink lighter than 11.9%. Probably drinking more like a 6-7%, not as low as, say, like I said, your Belgian Golden Strong. You do get the peppery notes, phenols on the palate, but maybe not as much as a Saison DuPont would be. Very good. So God, it's almost tough. Like I do give grading. As overall beer, this is definitely a good A minus. It's definitely unique. If you do love Belgian style beers, like this is based upon a Belgian blonde, using those characteristic yeasts, as well as having some dextrose in it to boost the alcoholic content and warmth without increasing the body too much. That's what they do. You know, it's definitely in that AA minus range. If you don't like Belgian style beers or Trappist beers, which have a lot of peppery phenols and high esters and things like that, you may not enjoy this as much. But this is such a unique beer, I can't really, you know, rate it versus anything else, because again, Pinot Noir must, things like that. But, you know, it definitely has enough esters and fruit to it that is pretty refreshing. Pairing with this, probably typical Belgian fare, like a lot of shellfish, clams, mussels. You could probably even cook with a little bit of it. I mean, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the rest of this. But again, highly effervescent, you know, light to medium bodied, a little lighter body than you'd expect for 11.9%. Finishes a little bit kind of on that wine side because the alcoholic strength and warmth, maybe not so much as the Pinot Noir, but there's something that Pinot Noir finish must be giving me that kind of that wine more than just the alcoholic strength, because the alcoholic strength of this is sitting more closer to wine than most beers. But you do get enough fruitiness and citrus from it. So again, not as crisp as maybe a Saison. Saison DuPont is a little more champagne-like. This is a little bit more fuller bodied than that, but really good, guys. You know, Henderson Brewing Company with this Rush collaboration. This is the second one I've had, at least at the filming of this. I plan on doing the Signals one maybe tomorrow, filming it. But even the blonde ale, which is like a rye blonde ale, it was very good. One thing I didn't comment on is bitterness. It's that low moderate bitterness. And what did I say? There was 20 IBUs on there. So, you know, probably just enough to balance some of the sweetness from the malt. The color on it, you can see I'm getting towards the tail end there. You know, the Vienna malt's probably giving me a little bit of that, a little bit darker gold color. Anyway, guys, I would highly recommend this if you're up in Canada. And, you know, I don't get access to this. This is why, you know, Susan has been, you know, giving me this treat that I would never be able to get this. And those of you who had chimed in on my the blonde ale or the golden ale that they had with rye, who loved it because they couldn't believe that Rush was making a beer. It's probably one of my most popular videos, mainly not because of me, but because of Rush. That they're really producing good beer. So, you know, I think Rush picked a good brewery, and it's 2 for 2 for me right now. I'm expecting the Signals is going to be very good too, but this is definitely a unique beer. So anyway, guys, today's beer dissection was Rush Henderson Brewing Company. I probably had it over my shoulder a few times spinning around, called Moving Pictures. 11.9% alcohol, 20 IBUs. It's a Belgian blonde beer, highly effervescent, carbonated, nice frothy head. It's got some fruit character to it if you like it. Slight peppery phenols. Again, you'll taste it. Okay, it's not like putting a pepper shaker in your mouth. If you've heard me say peppery phenols before, but if you really take it in and let it sit on your tongue, you get that. But very nice. I would recommend it. This has been a nice little treat because I don't get beers like this that much. Or at all. I don't know if there's distribution that much in the United States. I don't know how Susan got it. She may have mailed away for it. But that's it, guys. So until the next beer dissection, today was Rush Moving Pictures. Indeed, again, from the Rush band. I think his name's on here too. What's his name? Forget his name. I thought I saw him on there. Maybe it's on the Signals. They've got it on there. It's extra strong beer. So out of Canada, it is a limited edition 2022. They say by the way, they say you can age these for up to 5 years. I mean, this is good, 10 months old or so. And I know it is probably bottle conditioned, even though it had a cap on it. All right, guys, so the next beer dissection video, look out for my Signals from Rush, and as well as my older one, the Golden Ale from Rush, also from Henderson Brewing Company, which is like a rye golden ale. All right, guys, till the next video, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.